All right, welcome, folks. We are live, and today we have a special interview for you. Pre-recorded interview we did with Dennis Andrew Ball in his new book. Are we full disclosure? Are we alone? So I'm gonna play our intro. Don't forget to subscribe to our channels, follow our pages on Facebook, Rumble, Twitter, Twitch, and now Telegram. And then we will get started here shortly. And don't forget to check out our Bonfire store as well, because we have a bunch of shirts and items you can purchase that will support the CPS and family court corruption victims that are in need that we cover on Sundays. So that being said, we do not profit from any of this. All that money goes directly to the victims. I have no control over that, and that's the victims' funds, folks. So that being said, everything's covered under fair use. So let us begin. We have a special guest for you today, Dennis Andrew Ball, with his new book titled Full Disclosure, Are We Alone?
This has been a subject of immense interest all over the world. These objects are metallic, they're solid, and they have incredible properties that defy physics. I am of an opinion that the people need to know. They need to know the truth.
Welcome, folks. Today we have a very special interview for you guys. We earlier in the week we did a pre-recorded interview with Dennis Andrew Ball on his new book, our Full Disclosure, Are We Alone? So we're going to be premiering that right now, and following that we will have a roundtable discussion on the topic of UFOs. For those that may think that this topic is still considered fringe and taboo, just know that last April, mainstream media officially acknowledged, not saying that they're a reliable source because they're not, they're trying to control the narrative, officially acknowledged the existence of UFOs as being non-terrestrial. Not only that, NASA is now investigating them officially. So I just wanted to put that out there for anybody who might think this is still a taboo topic or a topic that you don't want to be associated with, because it's not. Just putting that out there for the record, folks. All right. So that being said, let us get started. Let me get that interview for you brought up, and then we'll start it. Right here. Here we go.
Can I add something really quick before you start? And one thing that everybody should consider, and I've had to remind myself, keep an open mind to the possibilities.
Yeah, definitely.
And consider what other people say, because they have their perception to add, which that complements yours, whether or not you see it at that time.
Right.
But it actually complements and it strengthens. So that's all I wanted to say.
All right. Very well said, Jennifer. I appreciate that. I agree with you on that sentiment. Awesome. Well said.
Because we do talk about things that were, taboo, secret, declassified. Well, it's been around a long time. So now that it's out, I guess it's their idea. But we always know it's been there. So.
Right.
So anyway, okay. I just wanted to include that.
Welcome, everybody. We have a special guest for you today, Dennis Andrew Ball, with his new book titled Full Disclosure, Are We Alone? Dennis Andrew Ball says we are not alone in the universe. Follow him as he takes us on a journey to the truth for our time. So why don't you go ahead and get started and kind of give our viewers the rundown on this new book of yours. I love the subject matter, by the way. It's one of my favorite topics. So kudos to you for writing this book. I love this kind of material.
Well, it's time. Honestly, this has been a subject of immense interest all over the world. The UFO development projects, that the governments who have tried to poo-poo this and debunk this and make us believe that it is not real, that it can be explained away through temperature inversions or different kinds of climate change, when in fact these objects are metallic, they're solid, and they have incredible properties that defy physics. And most of your leading physicists, Einstein, many of their theories have been challenged by these events. And it continues on. And I am of an opinion that the people need to know. They need to know the truth.
I agree.
And the evidence is so important, and it is here.
So what is so basically now I know you are very well versed in the UFO subject matter. I know we've talked about the Bob Lazar case, the Dan Burch case, the what was that one guy who was in Dulce who in the 70s, the guy who got his finger like off and he was found suicided in like 94. Phil Snyder, that's his name, Phil Snyder. Are you familiar with his story?
Well, I'm familiar with Dulce because I believe that there is a government installation that's 5 floors under the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And on the bottom floor are the extraterrestrials.
Okay.
And they are doing experiments there. They have been doing experiments there. And I will even say this. I believe that President Eisenhower was up to his eyeballs in this stuff. Because I believe there was a treaty he signed at Edwards Air Force Base.
Right. Now, exactly. I had heard that Majestic 12 went behind his back and signed this deal with the malevolent ETs apparently. He was against that initially as well. I had heard from my own investigation and from my own research and from what I've heard from other sources, and that's what I think happened just based on certain indicators. What is your take?
Well, you're right. I think you're right. The Grayback Treaty was confirmed to me by Eisenhower's granddaughter.
Yes, Laura Eisenhower. Right. Yeah. Okay. So you're familiar with her work as well. Cool. Awesome.
Exactly.
Me too.
Yes. I think there's too much evidence just to say it's hearsay.
Right.
And speculation. I don't believe that.
Right.
There are too many people involved here. The events continue on as if the extraterrestrials want us to know them in some way, or the public at large to know them.
Right. I mean, look at what we're seeing now.
Right.
You know, and the fact that the mainstream media is now acknowledging the existence of UFOs as not being of this world.
Right.
You notice that? Like last April, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe my ears. You know, it's funny because I had a feeling they were going to do it. I called it like a few months before it. I was like, no freaking way. No freaking way. And you know what that told me? It told me that's the deep state's attempt to try and control the narrative of disclosure because they know they don't have a choice but to reveal it because their hand is being forced, I think.
Oh, totally being forced. And now with the Space Force that occurred here recently, there's speculation or even information that we have satellites in space to shoot down anything, including extraterrestrials. And also a moon base has already been there for years on the dark side of the moon.
Yep. That's what I've heard as well. Yeah. I take it you're familiar with the secret space program disclosure movement going on right now.
Yes, a little bit. Yes.
Yeah, there's so much there. I mean, since you're already familiar with Laura Eisenhower, I recommend checking out Elena Dinan, Alex Collier, and several others. They're on each other's shows a lot of the time, but you'll see them. But they're really good sources of information. Very resonates with me very, very much so.
And I would also recommend anybody interested in this subject matter to start the process of understanding better what's happening or happened.
Yes.
Go to Peacock TV, and there is this show called Project Blue Book. And this show is very done. It was done by the History Channel. It has 2 seasons. I hope they put more on the TV for us to watch because it's an outstanding program.
It is.
This features J. Allen Hynek, who was a professor of astronomy at Ohio University in Columbus. And I think not far from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, where he was hired to debunk all of this UFO stuff coming from 47 on. This was 52, I believe, when he was recruited by the Air Force.
I believe so. Yeah, I think you're right on that.
Right, 52. 52 was a really big year, too, in terms of reporting. Different people who had different experiences. The Barney Hill matter, I think, was put out there as well. Because there's an episode of this and it gets pretty touchy. But I have to say that, believe it or not, I've actually learned stuff through this. And many of those instances where the UFOs appeared and or Area 51, where they were doing reverse engineering of these spacecraft, which we know Bob Lazar has communicated very well about that. So as, to me, if something is false, it's going to be debunked and seen for what it is in time. If it's true, the same principle applies as well. And I think that's where we are. Look at how can Roswell, being dead for 30 years, suddenly resurrected, and then everybody comes out and say, yeah, it was true.
Right.
And
it makes you really makes you wonder what's really going on in the background. Like, what's their play here? What are they trying to do? What are they trying to pull this time?
Well, that's it. And I understand. There was a lot going on. The Russians always seem to be in the middle of it. And with regard to how the president at that time during Roswell was President Harry Truman. Project Sign, Project Grudge, I believe it was called.
Project Grudge.
Yeah. And then at the same time he orders Project Blue Book, he orders the CIA.
I think the
Because-
CIA has been a big part of our troubles the last like 50, 60 plus years or so. What do you think about that? I mean, I think they've pretty much gone rogue at this point.
Yes, and then when you get back into Project Blue Book, I believe his name is Daniel Sparks. He said that their information. We're not. He said we're not in the business of shooting guns.
Right.
Like the Air Force or that
Well,
kind
see,
of thing.
they fight a different kind of war. They fight the information war, which is the same battle that that I fight for, but from the side of the light, So it's like, I mean, it's funny because one of my really close buddies here locally that I've known for years, he's ex Blackwater, and he was involved in some contracting with the CIA. So I know I got a copy of their freaking handbook, for fuck's sake. Okay, excuse my language, but problem. Reaction, solution. Need I say more?
Well, I tell you, we have a lot of people in this business now of ufology. And I have to say, your buddy there, I'm sure he's one too to examine and follow the breadcrumbs.
Well, it's funny when it comes to the UFO subject, it's almost like he's got some sort of weird like trigger reaction. Like for some, even having his history, it's like I don't think he may not even be aware that they've publicly acknowledged this last April yet. I mean, he might not be aware because he's been so busy with his fighting his case for his kid, with the school against the school board and stuff. So.
Oh, I see.
So he's been pretty busy, so it wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, no, he gives me shit for doing this kind of a show sometimes. He's like, "We're world news. You can't be doing that. I can't be associated." I'm like, dude, do you not realize that they've already acknowledged this officially? NASA's now officially going to be studying UFOs. It's not taboo topic anymore, buddy.
No, not at all. And it's definitely a national security issue with many of the people in the Washington D.C. circle, and also law enforcement. And you get back to the CIA and to the FBI and to military intelligence. Do you know what we have 18 intelligence agencies in the government of this country? 18.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. That's what happens when you have unchecked power run amok.
You got it. That is a fact, So why don't we use those 18 to find the truth,
right?
Which I believe is right in our face,
right? Instead of like one of them, such as FBI, using it against the American people. Why don't we do that instead and start finding out what the hell is really going on with UFOs? We could totally do that instead of like having them come after and silence their own people, which is totally against the Constitution, by the way.
Yes,
we ought to reutilize that force.
Well, that's it
for something positive for the people, for the benefit of the people, not to the detriment of the people. Sorry, I went off on a little rant there.
That's all right.
I'm sure a lot of us are feeling that way these days.
That's good. They need to, because this is important information that I think the President of the United States should come forth with. And by the way, folks, Dennis Andrew Ball is a 2024 candidate for President of the United States. And I'm honored to say that because I'm the only candidate out here talking about this way and doing full disclosure of the facts, which the first day I take into office, I will have executive order written to release all the documents that are necessary to inform the American people as to what has occurred over the time period from, say, 1947, maybe even earlier than that. They said in 1941 there was an incident in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, which is not too far from where I'm here in Marion, Illinois, where there was a crash of a UFO. There were bodies. It was very similar to Roswell. And it happened to be close to a military base. And this has been confirmed by a family whose father was a minister and called by the military to come and give the last rites to the bodies of the extraterrestrials.
I think, are you talking about the case that took place way back in the day? There's something similar to that in Texas, like way back in the late 1800s, I think. So had a similar
That's another
where
one.
they did that. Yeah,
that's
this
another
one's more recent. The one you're talking about.
Yeah, 1941, which was 6 years before Roswell, and it was 6 years before Kenneth Arnold, who gave the nation the first recorded sighting of UFO, actually a flock of UFOs, a fleet of them, over Mount Rainier in the state of Washington, which I have been to Rainier, and I have been to Seattle. You can actually see Rainier if you drive north of Seattle. You can see Rainier. He was in a private aircraft, civil aviation aircraft. He was a pilot. He got the attention. He was a business person like Trump, and they took him serious. Of course, this was 2 years after the end of World War II. The Germans, we believe, also were familiar with the UFO issue.
Well, didn't they have the Luftwaffe fleet, apparently, according to some research?
Yes, as I understand this matter, and I have it in my book, where in 1936 there was another UFO crash, and this was in the Black Forest of Germany. Now, 1936 was between 1919 and 1939. 1939 is when the Nazis attacked Poland. So there in 36, let me say this, Werner von Braun was a Nazi scientist who put men on the moon.
He was. Power Project Paperclip, folks. I mean, what do you think that all these Nazi scientists that we brought over to the States just all of a sudden changed their ideologies overnight? No, come on.
No, they didn't. And there is a town in Ohio called Germantown that J. Allen Hynek and his associate, I think his last name was Quinn, Michael Quinn, Captain Quinn. Now, that was for the show. I don't know in real life what that man's name was, but I do know that he accompanied J. Allen Hynek everywhere. They worked on projects together. There were a lot of them going on. There was 123 events they could not explain. Go figure.
Right. I know. And even if 1% of those was unexplainable, what does that tell you? It tells you that there's legitimacy to this subject, which there is, folks. They couldn't even explain away everything. There was so much evidence that they had. There even with everything they could try to explain away, there's still so much that they couldn't. They
still can't explain away.
Exactly, they still can't.
Yeah, Undersecretary of Defense Chris Mullen, who worked under the Senator Harry Reid out there in your neck of the woods.
Yep, I'm familiar with that. Yep.
Yeah, Senator Reid. He got $20 million of funding to study UFOs. I mean, that's unheard of.
I know, right? I know, totally unheard of.
Crazy.
And you see, you got to remember, he's got that at least that Luis was it Elizondo or something like that?
Yeah, Elizondo.
Yeah, Elizondo connection. And see, what we've noticed is that last April, when the mainstream finally acknowledged this subject, who do they have on to control the narrative for them? Elizondo. So I think that's part of that whole attempt to control to steer the narrative to their favor or to their benefit, kind of deal.
True. One question I have for anybody out here: what is exotic material? He says we are in possession. The government is in possession of exotic material. What is that? Is it a flying saucer? Is it
dark matter? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, dark matter.
For all we know, it could be dark matter. Like, what does exotic material mean? Define
it. Is it yeah, right. Is it a propulsion system? Is it anti-gravity? Because
is it teleportation technology? I want to know.
I know. And here they are. There's even speculation that the Tic Tac that David Ferrer the pilot for on the Nimitz, said he saw with his co-pilot and another two pilots. There's now speculation that that Tic Tac was made in Palmdale, California, at the Skunk Works Black Projects division, of which $2.5 trillion of taxpayer money cannot be accounted for out of the federal budget. But we know where that money went.
Right. Is that the same number, the same trillion, that few trillion that was missing during the day before 9/11 from that Rumsfeld was talking about at the Pentagon? Was that the same amount?
Probably.
Money?
You know, I mean, we'll figure it out. They've even said it's worse than that as far as what's missing.
Right.
But I think we're talking about a black hole here of UFO investigation, reverse engineering. Some of this now we don't know who's responsible for it, because we believe our scientists, let's say Operation Paperclip, those Nazi scientists passed on their information to our scientists, and they're using it. I mean, who knows? I mean, this is why there needs
For all
to
we
be.
know, they could be ours now, because we pretty much reverse engineered. I mean, I think it was Neil. Was Neil Armstrong, or was one of these astronauts that said that we have the technology to take ET home, and that was like in the wasn't that the late 70s or late 80s?
I think it was Buzz Aldrin.
It was one of them. Yeah, it was one of the astronauts.
And let's see, the gentleman Cooper, the astronaut.
Gordon Cooper?
Who?
Gordon Cooper.
Yes, thank you. Gordon Cooper. It's in my book. He said that there was an ET event at Edwards where it was filmed, and the film came back, they saw it, and then two men in black suits showed up and said, "We need the film." And he gave it to them, and he says, "We'll return it to you." Never returned it.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, it seems like military bases and ETs are very synonymous with respect to all that has happened. There was a conference.
Are you familiar with MILABs? MILAB, military abductions made to look like ET abductions? You've heard of that?
No.
Term? Oh, you should look into that, because it's part of this whole subject matter. I mean, we've seen there's some of that going on as well.
Well, good. I'm glad to talk about this, because I think, you know, the subject is massive, especially with a government cover-up, as they were even talking about that in 1952 when J. Allen Hynek was recruited. There were space clubs, UFO clubs.
Oh yeah.
That were going on even in the country at that time with all this activity. Like I said, Roswell happened in 47, but it wasn't until 1977 where Jesse Marcel, who was the intelligence officer at the 509 in Roswell, which was the only atomic bomb base in the world, he found the debris on the well, I have it written down. It's the ranch.
Wasn't it Mac Brazel's ranch, I believe?
Yeah, and there was another name for it too, and I don't have it handy, but he found the debris with Mac Brazel. Mac Brazel went to Sheriff Wilcox in Roswell. Wilcox called the base. I believe his name was Blanchard, Colonel Blanchard. Had Jesse Marcel go out and investigate.
Yeah, you're right, Blanchard.
Yeah, Blanchard, and then go with Mac Brazel out to the ranch area. I mean, this was a widespread thing. I mean, this was acres of ground. So anyway, they saw the debris. He got the debris, some of it, took it home that night, showed it to his son and his wife, and then took it back to the base. And then all hell broke loose.
Oh yeah.
And,
Oh yeah.
you know, and it's like, here it is 30 years later, and we're learning of it now because the military was sworn to secrecy. The thing that really got my attention was Stanton Friedman. God rest his soul.
Yeah.
To me, he was a standard bearer for this. He was a physicist.
He was.
He interviewed 800 people who had connections with this event. Walter Haut was the information officer at the 509. And Walter did 3 affidavits. One during the time of the event, one when he retired, and one when he had died. The one where he had died said, it's all true. This all happened. The ETs were real. And it makes me appreciate that somebody had integrity to come forth and document it. And that's what the American people need.
Right. Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. We need to know our true history, what happened with all that, because that has profound
Big
implications for the direction of our society
right.
if we don't know. You know?
Exactly. You got it, you know. And people have been killed to keep this information from leaking out. It's a big deal. It reminds me a lot of the Kennedy assassination.
Oh yeah.
We still don't know all the facts with his death and his brother's death, Robert.
Right.
That's another one.
And you know, and in a lot of these suicides, these murders made to look like suicides, a lot of the time they used a mysterious car accident, or they found themselves, they killed themselves. But like, for example, with Phil Snyder's case, they found his catheter wrapped around his neck, but he's in a wheelchair, so how was he able to strangle himself? But that was their explanation. It doesn't make any sense.
No. And a lot of these explanations are completely bizarre and hokey. You know, I just think, like any Ponzi scheme, you eventually run out of investors. And I think they've run out of excuses for many of these.
Well, they can't keep track of all their lies, is what it is. They can't remember which lies they told and who they told them to, and keep them all straight. So they're getting egg on their face, really.
I agree. And I think the president of the United States needs to come clean with the American people. This is what's happened. This is why it happened. And this is why we're coming clean now as a society. In my other books, which I am an author of several on Amazon.com, I talk about what needs to come clean in America. And there's a lot of cleaning up and housekeeping that must be done. Why? For the preservation and protection of the American family.
Well, not only that, but for the protection and preservation of the human family. I mean, I don't think if we don't address these issues, and if we don't have accountability on a global scale for what these bastards have done, especially over the last couple of years, then we don't have we're not going to have a future, because there's not going to be any future generations if we don't
exactly
accountable, period. Simple as that.
Well, that's it, you know, and I appreciate what you just said, Stephen. This has got to change. There has got to be a change. We are the change. I write about it all the time. Ballonomics, the Fair Deal.
Be the change you want to see in the world. That's what I always tell everybody.
That's good. Yes. Right now, President Biden has a copy of the Ball Doctrine in his office. I got it through Amazon to him. And I expect I will see him at some time soon.
Well, I mean, with the apparent mental state he has right now, I'm not. I mean, I'm kind of wondering if he's even capable of comprehending the subject matter at this point. Honestly, to be honest, I mean, it's pretty sad.
Yes, I agree. It is sad. But see, I ran for mayor in the city of Marion, Illinois in 2019. And, you know, it was a very good and positive experience for me. Why? Because Mayor Robert Butler was the mayor here in Marion, Illinois for 50 years. 50. That's as long as what you know, this UFO stuff's been going on. And he came in 1963 and he went out in 1919. He retired and he died 2 years later. And I saw him on the city hall steps because they needed people to do a temporary representation on the council. And I told him, I said, look, whatever has happened in the past is the past for now. I want to move forward. And when I talk about that, I talk about living wage jobs. I talk about wages and benefits. I talk about skilled labor. I talk about restoring the middle class, reindustrializing the middle class. That is absolutely necessary for the divorces to be decreasing, children not being hurt, and holding this government accountable for all of the trafficking of children and senior citizens for money and property. That's
absolutely, absolutely. It's absolutely critical for the not only the preservation of our way of life, but the preservation of future generations.
Precisely. And I'm going to say this. I believe Guantanamo Bay, Cuba was made for them. Just like hell is made for sinners.
I will be at peace the day we see these bastards held accountable. And I think the rest of the human race will be too. I think that's what we need to see in order for us to move forward as a society.
If you believe that, and I'm talking now to your audience, people, if you believe that is what needs to happen, vote for Dennis Andrew Ball. Ball for all. Because I will do what needs to get done. And I'm serious about this. Even if I'm a one-term president, I have backing and there are people behind me.
Absolutely. And we want accountability, and we want justice, and we don't want any more career politicians running the show because they've lost their way, they've abused their power. We want a person of the people, a man of the people. We need somebody that's one of us that's going to hold these bastards accountable. And I think that you're that man, you know.
Lincoln arrested judges who were not interested in our Constitution. And that was a good thing. There are judges in our country right now not interested in our Constitution.
Absolutely.
That needs to happen now. There needs to be a line in the sand. Says you cross the line, you will pay. You may pay with your life. Treason is death.
Yes, it is. And these bastards have done that and a whole lot more.
So I bring this subject only because I think this is as important as the disclosure project of knowing who is here.
Right. No, it all goes hand in hand, you know, because some of the same people that are complicit in the cover-up are also some of the same people complicit in some of these crimes against humanity as well.
Precisely. This is important. I'm really glad I'm here, Stephen. We are talking it the way it really needs to be, I believe.
We are. I do. I believe so, too.
Yeah. And the people need to know that there is an answer here for all of this major blackmail corruption that has happened to our society. I'm 71 years old. It's been going on my entire life. The Federal Reserve has been in business since 1913. Over 100 years. They created the Great Depression in 1929.
And wasn't it 1871 when things started going back, you know, when they finally got their gain? I think it was 1871 when they had everything in place for the ball rolling for the Federal Reserve to come into existence, basically. But they had all the steps there at that point, I think, is when
they did, because the government was broke after the Civil War. Lincoln was dead. They had to find a way to get the country back where there was liquidity back in the government's funds. So they made a deal with the European bankers that was a prelude to the Federal Reserve, Jekyll
Biggest
Island,
mistake our country ever made.
big time. Woodrow Wilson signed the act in 1913 with the IRS as the collector of income. Yet in 1895, the Supreme Court of the United States said income tax is unconstitutional.
But they went and did it anyway.
Right. They only used it to gain money for the wars. Then they let it sunset and there was no more income tax. My proposal is a fair tax. That's the only tax I want to see. No income tax that gives you a 25% increase in your income.
There we go.
Not having to pay those taxes. I don't want any property tax on people's property. If they have to pay property tax, they don't own their property. They're renting it. If they don't pay it,
essentially, essentially they are renting it. If you look at it that way, because that's what's happening. It's ownership disguised. It's rentership disguised as ownership.
Exactly. I'm a radical centrist. I believe in the truth. That's what Pilate asked Jesus. I'm a disciple of Christ. The realities are the truth will set us free.
I was just going to say that.
Yes, and this subject matter of that which is beyond us.
Mm-hmm.
The James Webb Telescope witnesses to that.
Oh yeah. It's a what a modern. I mean, look at all that. Like it's all the stuff it's picking up, and I mean that's just the stuff they're willing to show us. I mean, who knows what they're not showing us?
Oh yes. I mean, the Mars rover, all of those little machines running around on Mars, picking up different images.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
objects that should not be there, that could not form naturally from erosion, that don't make any sense. They're there, folks, if you look. And it's funny because NASA is just kind of putting it out there. They're not really saying anything or commenting. They're just kind of putting it out there for people to look at. And I've noticed that that's a pattern with them. That's kind of how they do things when it comes to leaking shit out or dripping shit out as far as disclosure goes. And I don't know if you've seen the International Space Station live feed. I think it was April. It was April, right when they were starting to talk about this on the mainstream. There was what looked like a fleet of 13 craft going across the view. And I what we did is I was actually on our first episode of Fringe News for Us Fringe Division. I tracked the path of those objects and tried to see if they were matching with the curvature of the Earth and the spin of the Earth, and they did not. They actually went down into frame when they should have been going up out of frame if they were on the Earth. So we were able to point out that there's something that we can't explain, and it was not on the Earth. It was above the Earth, between the space station and the Earth, going by.
Right.
And then they they just put it out there. They don't say nothing, no comment, but it's out there, and people know about it, but they're not commenting on it. It's themselves, But it's kind of like they're like, here you go, but we're not going to say a word. Let you decide, more or less. But I think that's kind of like that's what I've noticed how NASA likes to operate when it comes to that kind of stuff, as far as the leaking bits of truth here and there. You know what I mean?
Oh, I believe yes. And that's good. And again, NASA is a government agency. They are tied into the federal government. They get their funding from the federal government. Right. And
but I think it's important for people to know to notice that it says a lot about whoever's able to do that, what they're trying to accomplish, even if only a little bit at a time, more or less. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, on the astronauts of all these different, the moonshots, Project Gemini, Project Mercury. The astronauts are the biggest witnesses to this, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
They have communicated their questions also as to what they are experiencing when they're out there in space or in the orbit of the Earth. they're perplexed as well. I think Gordon Cooper said it well, though. We're not alone.
Did you see that recent comment by Buzz Aldrin, not like a few years back, and he was talking about the giant monolith on, I think it was either Phobos or Deimos, the moon, one of the moons of Mars, and he was talking about, we need to go there to see what that is. It's a big old monolith, just like in 2001: A Space Odyssey. And he just leaves it at that. And it's like, okay, well, what does he know that we don't? You know?
You bet. That's not surprising. I think as time goes on, well, I know this, as president, I will release the documents for the American people. That's going to make world news. Some of the other governments, however, are revealing what they know.
They are. A lot of the ones that governments around the world have started doing so. We're like probably one of the few that's not.
Correct.
Well, we are to some extent, but we're like probably like the last in line for, in that regard, because it's been a long time coming.
Definitely. And
I must say I was pleasantly surprised, albeit it is their attempt to control the narrative. I still see that as a really good sign, because it shows that they're not in control anymore and their hand is being forced to try and control the narrative. That to me says that they're losing this war and that somebody else is winning.
Yes, I agree. Luis Alessandro and Chris Mullen and others, because I consider this my swan song here into the UFO business with you. This is my first interview.
I think this has been a phenomenal interview. We covered so much subject matter. I'm really glad that we touched on this, especially since you're releasing this book, because this is one of my favorite subjects, and you seem just as well versed in the subject matter as I am. So, like, I think you're probably one of the only people that I know that anything that I reference in the field, you know about already, pretty much. Like Bob Lazar, Phil Snyder, Dulce, all that. You name it. Like, we could probably quiz each other on the subject matter, and be just fine.
Yes. The Joe Rogan interview with Bob Lazar and Jeremy Corbell, I thought was very enlightening, as well as George Knapp. Now, remember, George was a reporter at the Las Vegas TV station,
where I'm from, folks. So, I mean, I'm very familiar with that.
Yes, it's if this was a farce, this would have died years ago.
It would have.
But to me, what has kept this and makes it true is the ETs. They are the ones doing this. It's agree. Like we're in control. They want to say to us, we're in control. You're not, and we're here.
Well, just look at all the times that they've interfered with the nuclear missiles and stuff around the bases and stuff. They've disabled them practically, every single time.
Exactly.
What that tells me that they're not going to let us do anything stupid. It's like a kid with matches, or a kid with a gun. Like, seriously, like, that's kind of like how they're looking at us. Like, they're like, seriously, you guys, are you really doing this? Really? We have to come in here and babysit again? I'm sure they're getting freaking tired of it. I know I would be.
Well, if you ever saw the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Oh yeah.
1951, Klaatu, and the different codes that they were saying to the robot.
Right.
I think one was Klaatu Bort Ebo or something of that nature. And these robots were to keep the peace. And all of the people were listening to Michael Rennie express what he had come to Earth to tell us.
Right.
And I think in some respects, we may be in the same situation with the Space Force. Who knows?
I think you may be right on that. I think you may be right. And I think there's even a whole nother layer to that, just besides the Space Force element itself. I think there's a whole benevolent ET aspect that's working in tandem with Space Force, which some have referred to as the Earth Alliance.
I believe you're right. I think there's a lot of evidence to suggest that we have a new age here. John Kennedy, President Kennedy, when he was a senator, made reference to this. And he was very much aware of what was going on in Roswell, as well as other events. He kept tabs of this.
Mm-hmm.
He actually wanted to share ET technology with the Russians. And the CIA said, you've crossed the line, you have to die. I believe that.
Oh yeah, and well, they didn't want him revealing what he knew, and obviously that's why they took him out. I mean, it's classic CIA playbook, right out of their playbook, right?
Definitely. They had taken pictures in Dallas the day he died. It showed hobos, which were CIA operatives, walking around Daily Plaza, walking around Badge Man, who I think might have been David Frere. He was murdered in New Orleans. He was part of what they were considering. Oh God, I'm having a blank here on things, but he was connected with the CIA. They had these training camps in Louisiana. And with respect to what the Warren Commission said, that Lee Harvey Oswald was the shooter, there's evidence to suggest that there's a photo of Badge Man at the fence there at Daily Plaza, where he had there was a person with a rifle over the fence, and there's a puff of smoke. And whether that was the bullet that killed the president or not, I don't know. There's another photo too, where it appears that there's a person behind one of the, it looks like a decoration, they have a picture of a person. It looks like they are hiding behind something there on Daily Plaza, not far from Mr. Zagruder, who was filming all of this.
Gotcha. Oh, the Zapruder film. That guy. Oh, Dennis, you muted yourself. You muted yourself again. Dennis, you muted yourself. Unmute yourself. Dennis, you muted yourself. You're gonna have to unmute yourself. Dennis, can you hear me? You muted yourself.
But I think the evidence demands, and I think we're at that point in history and the times we're living in, that the truth must come forth. Pilate asked Christ, what is truth? And Christ responded, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Okay, I get that. But what is the truth about these events that continually happen to America and our people?
Right.
You know, one of my big issues,
we do.
One of my big issues is the economics of our people.
Yes.
I'm 71 years old. I feel that I have been discriminated against in terms of the economic health of my own personal family and extended family, where monies that should be in working for the good of the family have actually worked in the negative to defend the family from this government.
Yep. Absolutely.
And keeps you poor.
It's by
keeps
design.
you poor.
By design. The Federal Reserve
design.
fiat currency is a debt currency. It's evidence of debt only, folks. It's not asset backed. It's freaking evidence of debt. The interest that these bankers charge our government for printing the money is never printed itself. It's a perpetual debt system, folks. So what you're saying, it absolutely makes sense to me that's what they're doing.
Right. With the income taxes, the interest on the money, which should not be, because it has been determined that income tax is not correct under the Constitution. Yet they have created this to be a perpetual motion machine that funds itself through the IRS and the federal government. Mm-hmm. If you noticed on the radios, they're talking about commercials for debt relief as well as IRS inspections. Here they have hired 87,000 or that process of that agents with guns.
Oh yeah. I was just thinking that. I was like, oh, well, why do these IRS agents need all these guns for all of a sudden? It's because they're going to try and come and take our freaking money is what it is. And they're going to do it by force. That's what that's about, folks. If you think that they're just going to go after those that are rich and powerful, you think again. They're not coming for them. They're coming for us.
Exactly. And so I think we need to get ahead of the curve here, don't you?
I agree, 100%.
Yes, I think so. And I don't mean to make this into a campaign speech, but things are so out of balance.
They are out of balance right now. They're completely out of balance. They're all one-sided. There's no accountability. It's everything that that one side is accusing the other of doing. In fact, they're doing even worse, and they're not being held accountable. Period.
No, they're making so many violations of the laws, the rules, the statutes.
Yep.
And there's accountability because the people have been taken. But the people have got to respond. If we're the sovereigns and the government of the United States, we must respond if we have any feeling and love for our children and our families.
Absolutely. We have to stand up and fight. And
we have to
take our power back. Absolutely.
We must. And that's in law enforcement. Right now, this morning, I heard, and I don't mean to make this a big editorial, but there were 10 people in jails, I believe in Ohio, that died this year already in jails.
I'm not surprised.
Which says to me, there's a lot of abuse going on in the jails with the people who are there, the jailers.
Yep. I agree 100%. There's a lot of that going on right now. So people can pre-order your book on Amazon, yes?
Yes.
Awesome.
They can.
We will be providing you guys the link when we air this. So we'll be getting that from you after the show, and we'll put that on an overlay as well as in the description. So that's really cool. I'm probably gonna order myself a copy. I think that would be great because I can't wait to see. I love this material. This kind of subject matter is one of my favorite subjects. I've always been fascinated by it, and I'm glad we were able to have such a great interview. We covered such great ground and such different aspects of this subject matter. I think we really covered all our bases. It was a really good interview.
Well, this is who I am. I'm a scholar and an author, and the campaign for America continues on. I think the UFO issue is equally as important as the economics, the fair deal, fair tax, as it is accountability on the judiciary's part, and creating a defundment of CPS, DCFS, which stands for Department of Child and Family Services, who are stealing our children,
who
are trafficking our kids, and who are creating a dysfunctional society, whether they wish to admit it or not, that will eventually totally implode. And will probably bring a new dark age unless we do something about it now.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on the show and telling our viewers about your new book. I look forward to reading it, and we will have you on in the future. Let me know when you have any future books coming up.
I will. I shall. And I have to tell you, I don't write just to write. I write when there's specific issues that are impressed on me.
Yeah.
Yes. And this is one of them, as well as Living with God. I have another book by that title, Life's Winding Road. The cover is beautiful. And that's another one can be pre-ordered. And then another one called The Teacher, the 13th Disciple, One Least Expected. And that's the life of Saul of Tarsus, who became Paul the Apostle.
Oh, awesome. Well, I look forward to having you on our next interview. And Thank you for showing up and telling us about your new UFO book, because I love this. I really, really love this topic. It's one of my favorites. So thank you so much, Dennis, for jumping on and telling our viewers about your new book. We look forward to having you in the future.
Thank you. God bless.
God bless.
All right, folks. So that was our interview with Dennis Andrew Ball. Last Thursday, he was unable to make it due to time, due to scheduling conflict. But it was a great interview. I think we covered a lot of ground, and I think we touched on a lot of issues related to this UFO subject. What's your take on that, Jen? What do you think? What did you think of that interview?
I thought it was really good and informative, and it opened my mind to all the people involved, with just listening, not speaking. I was able to obtain a lot of the things good points that were made. And we need to know the truth, and we need to know it. We deserve the truth. We should demand the truth. We shouldn't have to, demand our rights. Those should be automatically given to us by our creator. Our governments are not to give us a right to anything. In fact, I don't know why we're taxed to live here. Did they create this universe? I don't think so.
No,
so why are we taxed?
To pay to live on a planet we were born on. That's bullshit.
Well, right, because we're born into slavery, and what makes the best slaves? People that don't know they're slaves.
Exactly. That's kind of tyranny is the kind that you don't know you're in, folks. Think about that.
And not only that, but they give us this false narrative that it's just like they play two races together, like they play two people together. They play two things to fight. Yeah,
they play. They play us against each other is what they're doing.
And then what they do is all this time we think that we have something against each other when it didn't even exist. We never really hated each other.
Right, right, and it's all bullshit. They're trying to use to divide us. They're trying to stir the pot so that we're so busy and distracted, looking over here and too busy fighting ourselves to notice what's really going on.
Right. Well, I was talking to my friend, and he was saying this is all by design. It's I hope I don't completely destroy this word. Comparables. Like, there's so much corruption going on that we're all dealing with on different levels, that we're so distracted that we're not dealing with the main problem. Because there's so many subcategories. They've developed this into multi-million streams of revenue. They are just getting so much money. And like you were saying, isn't it that I don't know a lot about the money and everything. I know that they're printing it out of thin air, and isn't that based on something that we owe away? I don't know a lot about that.
It's coming out of the taxpayers' money, although it's coming out of the black budget. It's still coming out of our pockets,
right?
And because of that, we have a goddamn God-given right to know where our money's fucking going.
Right,
just like with that money for the Ukraine that they've never been able to trace. We have a right to know where that fucking shit goes because we are paying that shit off.
Right, and see, this is the mess.
It's coming out of our pockets, not fucking Biden's, not fucking people in power. It's coming out of our pockets. But not just
our pocket, Stephen. It's coming out of our blood, sweat, tears, and misery and suffering of our offspring and family, and that's ridiculous. They're committing massive amounts of genocide, and it's got to stop. There's experiments. We're probably in an experiment we don't even know about. And it's so hard to do. They have what they did. I hope I'm trying to get this analogy going. I have it in my mind how I want to see it, but I'm trying to explain it. It's almost like, nothing's government funded. We fund it by our taxes. So we pay for them to do this, but they tax us to do it. It's incredibly it'll blow you away. And you have to start from the very beginning. Where are all of these places that say they're doing good? Where are they receiving their funding?
Right.
There's different kinds of nonprofit. You got to really.
I've also heard that a lot of the black budget money gets funneled through the Energy Commission funds.
Well, and how do we know? Because it's all hidden and filed on secret numbers.
Here's how I know. I know from somebody that I know that would know that was that used to be former Blackwater. So that's all I'll say on that. But he had indicated that to me.
Cool. Well, that's good. I didn't have that insight, and that's why we just look at how much we have gosh. Okay, hold on, let me calm down a minute. I've learned so much from you. You've learned so much from me. I've learned so much from Dottie. And you know what we do? We take this education that or learn
Yep.
from each other, not by school, by experience and
Yep.
what your perception is.
And we
I
apply it.
might not agree with every single dang thing you do,
Right.
and I don't have
Nobody
to.
agrees with 100% with anybody else. It's, that's okay. There's nothing
R-
wrong with that. But there's no reason we
Right.
can't come together and still express our views.
Exactly.
Still have respect for each other's viewpoints without being
Right.
triggered, folks.
But the problem is, and now this is what my dad would say. He was in the military for 20 years, okay? And he had dual citizenship to USA and Canada. Okay, he served 20 years. So he traveled a lot and everything like that. And he didn't talk a lot about his job or anything, but I just couldn't understand. I said, Dad, why is it that we are so busy worried about what other countries are doing that we're not taking care of our own people? Why is it that we got, the government's got their business and what's happening millions of miles away, but and he never could answer me, and it didn't make sense at all, um but one thing I'll never forget is my grandfather never understood why he joined the US military. He just couldn't understand. But I don't think it matters what country you're from. I don't think, because we're all one, and this is, we're all
members of the human family, and that's how
we
I like to
are.
look at it.
We are.
The sooner we start looking at each other as fellow human beings and not black, white, yellow, whatever color,
Yeah.
the sooner we can all unite and unify as the human race and put an end to this corruption and these bastards once and for all.
Well,
But
they
that's the
separate
only way
us.
we're going to be able to do it, folks. Is we need to come together in unity.
Right. And there are people that know some things and there are people that don't. You have to have an open mind and just think, really look into stuff.
Discernment,
oh gosh,
too,
yes.
as well.
Yes. There's still things that I come across, I don't know about you, Stephen, that I'm like, I kind of sort of understand a little bit, but I don't think I totally
believe that. But this little part
that.
here doesn't resonate with me. Yeah, no, I totally know what you're talking about.
But you know what, though? I don't think everybody has the full entire truth. We're putting together this puzzle. Right. And what we're doing is we're basing it on our personal experience through our milestones of life, right? I was trying to explain it to somebody, how I don't hate adoption. I don't hate all these things. But what I don't like is the way that they're doing them.
Right.
So I've heard one good story. Yes. I've heard one good story out of an adoption. Okay. But I'm willing to hear more. But there is no more that exists that I have seen. But my personal experience is just that one. Somebody else might have more. So, come on, tell me more. So it enhances my perception. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's all me, I'm living in my own box, in my own world, and it's boring.
Right. And there's more than just that, and
exactly.
To really expand our knowledge base, we have to look outside of
right.
We have to utilize what some people that we know from personal experience and learn from that what we can. And what doesn't resonate with us, don't pay it any attention. Here's the best advice I can give for folks on dealing with information that may be negative or have evil or wrong intent behind it. It will not affect you so long as you don't give it the attention. You should acknowledge it, be aware of it, but don't give it your energy. And by that, I mean, don't dwell on it. Don't talk about it. Don't give it any more energy than you would, to anything else objective.
And one more thing too is this, okay? We are manipulated by emotion, like a puppet on a string.
That's what's important to understand.
This is something that people need to realize that, and I'm still dealing with that. Okay, that's something I think we all are,
to some extent. Just something we're working on it every chance we get. And I catch myself, and I have to remind myself when I catch myself going down that road. It's like, no, take a step back. You're being triggered.
Right.
This is what the whole end result is they're trying to accomplish. Don't give into it.
They want to trigger you, like remember, you get upset. I'm like, Stephen, calm down. But it's like hard not to, because you got this rage and you're fighting your human instincts, your spiritual instincts. My instinct is to save my child. It's to save children, to save people, and I'm running in place with my hands behind my back, fighting my instinct because they're whatever. But I don't want to be completely negative about it. But
It's
Well,
frustrating because you
it
do
is.
so much and you try to get something accomplished, and it just like seems like, when is this going to
Yes.
be over? When are we going to see some real tangible,
Right.
real change? Not this pretend. Oh, we're working on the issue with these paid actors like Tolu
Oh
and
my
a couple
gosh.
others. Like, that's the distraction, folks.
Right. You know what? I thought about, applying for one of those positions. I think I might be able to do it. Oh my God. I'm just kidding. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God, I'm gonna make so many changes in the world because I'm doing this with legislation. Like,
Right.
dude, you do not realize it's gotten so far past that point.
Right. And
There
hang
are
on.
people in
Right.
positions pretending to be on our side, and in reality, when you look at what they've done in the past and the evidence that
Right.
we actually have, they are not working for us. They are not
Right.
working on our side. They are an enemy in sheep's clothing,
Yes.
a wolf in sheep's clothing, trying to keep people from taking it the full way, the full amount of the way it needs to go. They're distracting people.
Right. And you know what? You guys were saying everything came out, the truth came out. Well, you know what? It's hard to cover up the cover-ups because they
Yes.
slip, they're sloppy, they
Yep.
lie. I knew they were lying from the beginning, but
Oh yeah.
I just said I love my ET and I love space, and I know I'm not from this place. So
Me too. Like, that's kind of how I've always felt. It's like, okay, I know this subject's real because I've seen this shit myself. Don't matter what they try to tell me that I'm crazy, because I know I'm not.
Right.
And the universe is so vast, it would be foolish and naive and arrogant of us to think that we were the only ones.
Well, look at us. We're a tiny little thing. We think we're big and tough and tall and big to an ant, but we are just tiny.
Yep.
Tiny.
We're a tiny speck
We are
in a
like
vast cosmos.
But we think that and
that doesn't mean that we're not important.
No, yeah,
In the
yes,
bigger
but
picture, because we are, and we wouldn't have
Right.
the help that we have here if we weren't. If there wasn't something that we had to contribute down the road, like
Right.
From what I understand, what goes on here affects the whole galaxy, from what I've been told.
Well, it does, and this is something that this is the most exciting
As above, so
time to be
below.
alive.
Okay,
What?
folks? I said as above, so below. So I was just commenting on my last.
Okay. I'm like, can you not hear me? I heard an interview. I think it was one from one of the NASA astronauts or something, and they were talking, and he goes, "We just don't have the supplies to rebuild our technology. They had it before. They destroyed it. They hid it because how can they carry on their experiments without us knowing? They hide everything."
Right, exactly.
And I think that my experience, my traumas, has made me the person that I am to be able to survive right now in this time. I would have folded.
Me too.
I just would have. That would have been it. But
the same here. I never would have been able to handle the level of stress I had 2 years ago. And now I don't know how I'm doing it, but I'm doing it. So I like, the only thing that makes any sense is that the experience that I went through up to this last couple of years, when I, has prepared me for this,
Right. And there's different realms of things. There's physical, spiritual. People can cross into. This stuff exists, but you know what? You have to believe it. You have to believe it exists.
Belief is everything. We create our reality,
yes.
folks, based on our beliefs and expectations about what we expect to
Yeah,
happen.
absolutely.
When you realize you create your reality, and we can actively manifest our reality literally in real time, by becoming here's where you start. I know it seems like a huge leap, folks, but here's a good stepping point to get you on the road to that. Think of it like this: when you have a situation where you feel like you might be being triggered, okay, or if you catch yourself being triggered by something on the news or something, for example, take a step back, acknowledge that that's what's being done, and then realize, okay, I don't have to let it affect me in any kind of way, negative or positive. I can take a step back, look at it objectively, and realize that how I react to it, whether that be good or bad, is a choice. Once you realize that it's a choice, you can consciously choose to not react in any way.
Yes. Become aware. They had us so busy before COVID, rat race, 5 o'clock this, 5 o'clock that, 9 o'clock that. We finally got to stop and freeze and realize what we were truly meant to do. We got to look at our families. We got to look at each other and say, what have we missed out on? Oh my God, I don't know you anymore. I don't know me anymore.
Right.
It's just so well, you got to run Betsy to the thing at 3:30. When did we ever connect and, and actually sit down and really show that we care about people? I mean, I don't
Right.
remember. I try to, but you know what? I get really bad, dirty looks anymore. Like, I mean, I don't know.
People are just like rubbed the wrong way. They know. I think some, deep down, most people know. Even those that are not awake, recognize that something's wrong, and and I get that too. Now there are for me personally, I've had some pretty good experiences with people with seeing people caring about their fellow. Like in my neighborhood, my neighbor across the way, and then we're all a tight knit little community. We look out for each other. So I have had that experience out here, and more so than I had prior. So I do see that. Like I'm seeing that for sure from my end, and it's really really encouraging now. Just because you're not seeing it from your end exactly doesn't mean that it's happening. Because think about it this way: how do they ensure that we don't see that we don't know that others are waking up and that the vast majority of us are? Well, the mainstream media doesn't fucking cover it. That's how they
right. Well, I mean, and and that's exactly why they keep us divided. It's all by gender. It's all by there's a meme, we're classified. We come with a barcode when we're born on our forehead. Remember the Simpsons when they were running the little girl over the thing?
Yep.
And they tell us the truth in cartoons that are childlike, funny. Look at that. Yeah, that was what they're going to do.
What it's really doing is put seeding in people's consciousness the way things are.
Right, but it's like us telling us without telling us, but making a joke and mocking us.
Yes, that's how they do it. Make it funny, and then it sinks in.
Yes,
to where you don't realize that they're really indoctrinating you a lot of the time.
Right, but what you got to understand, look through, whenever people just want to just go on some kind of just a fun adventure, I think.
Right.
Go and start looking at different things in the background in real, not real. Use your discernment, images of the Bible. You can see some flying saucers in the background if you pay attention. Become aware of your surroundings. Become aware. If you have intuition, your gut says run, run, run. And another thing I'd like to add about being upset and angry. And I don't know if you've heard of Roy Masters, but he used to do hypnosis. Well, he started doing a different kind of thing. And
Roy Masters, yeah.
Okay. Well, you've heard of if we were to hate somebody, if you absolutely cannot stand anybody, and you hold that anger that you have, that anger goes in you, which internalizes within you. They become an extension of you. They be you, and it or something like that. I say it backwards, but they become you. It was that's why people, when you're fighting the system, and people are like, I can't understand why she turned out to be just like them, because that enemy that she was fighting became an extension of her.
Right.
She internalized the anger, because our anger and our feelings are inherited by our whatever experiences we had previous. Right? I mean, you've heard of that, inherited.
Who we are today is formed by our past experience and our in our upbringing, and what we believe to be true about reality and what we were taught. And
right, but we do have inherited emotions.
Take a step back and really look at objectively what it is that we've been taught, and take a step back and try and really, is it really true? Have we been lied to?
Right.
Have we been misled? And go from there, because I think what we'll find is a lot of things that we've taken for granted as reality, we're going to find are not really reality at all. And
they were never real.
And once we're able to unwind those false perceptions of our reality, is when we're really going to start to be able to really regain our self-empowerment on an individual level of, as far as creating our own reality. But we have to have that realization first. You know what I mean? And go through that process to do the work, so to speak. Jan, you're not coming in at all. Your mic's not working. Something's not working on your end. I can't hear you at all. Hello? Are you there? Jennifer, are you there?
I'm here. I'm sorry. I lost my sound.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hold on. Let me turn my thing on. I can barely hear you now.
Go ahead.
Hold on. I'm turning it just a second.
Let me
fix my audio so I can. I'm having issues hearing you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay. Just think of it like this, okay? A lot of what we've been
Oh, your
talking
audio
about.
just went to shit just now. It just went really,
Okay, how
really
about
low.
now? Is that better?
No, it's really, really low.
Okay.
Whatever
Okay,
you
is that
changed it. Oh, much better, much better.
okay? We've been lied to our entire lives about pretty much everything. Once you start looking into it, you're gonna feel really betrayed. You're gonna feel really pissed off, and you're gonna feel really angry. You're gonna go through all of those emotions because you're grieving a life that was false, and you're gonna be angry. So don't let that, completely navigate what you do.
Right. Great
And what I
advice.
mean by that is that, okay, I had to deal with this for a long time. Anger is a good kind of motivator at the beginning. Don't let it consume you because you
Right.
won't ever get past that anger.
Yes.
It will consume you.
Don't let it
So,
consume. You can use it as a tool to
yes,
motivate you and
yes,
to make change, but don't let it
right.
consume you, folks.
It's normal to
Acknowledge the
get,
emotion, but don't
yes.
let it take over.
Well, and then realize why you're feeling this way. What other physical symptoms? Why are you doing it? Oh, it's because you
Right. You
lost
got to realize
control.
what's causing it too. And then
Yes.
once you realize that, you can fix it.
Hmm.
Not make it trigger you anymore.
Yes, and be aware of it. And then next time it won't trigger you. And then you start becoming aware of your triggers and you start becoming aware of other things and you save yourself a lot of heartache. But another thing is they they manipulate us on emotions because once by fear, by things like that, because if we're fearful, it paralyzes people. People don't know what to do. Look at how many people don't want to leave their house. Look at how many people they paralyze us by scaring us. That's the only tactic they have is to scare us.
Right.
And I'm not scared anymore.
I stopped being afraid a long, long time ago. Maybe
You
perhaps
know,
that's why I'm so successful at
right,
not letting the negative energy affect me as much. I mean,
right,
as some people.
exactly. But um, so we need to people, humans, whatever you want to associate yourself as. We need to know where we really came from, not what they tell us we came from, because how they haven't proven where we
Right.
came from.
Right. For all we know, they lied to us about everything. I mean, look
They
what
did
they lied to us about the last couple of years. What else have they lied to us about? Probably pretty much
everything.
everything else.
I mean, I'm putting together a complete all
I
the
mean, it
stuff
would
that I'm
make sense if they've lied
all
to us
the
on that
stuff
level this time. What makes
exactly.
us think they haven't been doing it all along? They just stopped hiding it.
Well, because you know what, they couldn't. They ran out of cover ups for their cover up to cover up their cover up because that cover up would reveal that cover up.
Well, that's part of it. But what I think is really going on here is I think we see. I think the deep state lost their malevolent ET overlords, and I think we got our benevolent ones to back us up all of a sudden.
Right.
I think that's what we were seeing go on here because at least it would make sense that they would stop trying to hide shit if they backed into a corner and they had already lost and they were just playing it out, wouldn't it?
Right. Right. But on the other hand, there's also the fact that there's more light than darkness now. And we just
Exactly.
basically, we shine the light that they couldn't cover up anymore. Our light is so bright that they had no place to hide. Where were they going to hide? They're attracted to us.
Right.
But
Yeah, we're like us as starseeds, and then no, totally. That's what they targeted the kids.
and see, and it goes with okay, so whatever legend goes there. Okay, I don't want to be Bible thumpy. I do not agree with religion.
I make a fine distinction between religion and spirituality in my book.
Yes, and there's a good definition, but religion is control, and spirituality is just showing us, leading us, and letting us decide.
Right.
So anyhow,
You really gave some great advice. Why don't you give our viewers some advice on the whole religion thing, like you're just about to do, and then I think we'll be at about an hour and 30 minutes here in like 5 minutes, and if we had more people, I'd probably keep the conversation going, but I got to get some work done too, and I do want to wrap this up as soon as we can so we can get.
You do. I have an amazing YouTube video that we could play.
Yeah, we could totally do that.
It's called The Divine Brain, and it explains everything in the Bible, and it makes complete sense.
How long is it?
Let me go find it. And if you, I mean, or you could start playing some of it.
We can play some of it, yeah, and then we can resume it on the next episode for sure.
I mean, it's okay. Let me go get it. I'll be right back.
Okay, cool.
Down, 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 down. Okay, I'll be right back.
Right. Well, in the meantime, I'm just gonna like screen share one of the articles that, or one of the links you sent earlier about Majestic 12. So it's called the orionlines.com/Majestic12, and this is really cool. Like you got a lot of good sources on this subject that I didn't know about even.
I also have a good thing about religion. I mean, let me go find that. That explains the parts of the brain, and it relates to the biblical terms. It just will totally, I love it. Okay, hang on, I'll be right back. Oh, one more thing. There's a section I can find of the aliens, and there's an interview with them on that same thing. But yeah, I found the Majestic 12.
Okay, so I'm gonna read this for our viewers because I think this is relevant to what's going on right now, and I think people need to know about this because I've been following this issue. So this is from that website URL, theorionlines.com/Majestic-12. This right here is dated 6/20/2021. Pay very close attention to every Q. Pay very close attention to every A. Engineered in the lab. Evolutionary mutations. Mutations are getting more severe. Designed to kill. China unleashed a biological weapon onto the world. Engineered a lab. Designed to kill. What was Operation Warp Speed? I hope YouTube doesn't ban us for reading this. Merging of timelines. Key important dates overlap. OWS MJ12 that included multiple zero deltas plus common topic or proofs being directly queued and over 170 million impressions during a 3-year Twitter operation. If we knew the vaccine kill, if we knew the was designed to spread and kill, depopulate Earth equals invasion of non-human alien life to rebuild Earth using humans as slaves. Communism after -7b equals NWO. Nothing can stop what is coming. Timelines are merging. Tick tock. As the timelines merge, people will change. Alternate realities, new future, new potential. Faith is important. Science is important. Dogma is evil. Bigotry is evil. Censorship is evil. Pedophilia is evil. Racism, CRT is evil. Communism is evil. Disclosure of patents. Disclosure of deep state. Disclosure of technology. Disclosure of medical technology. Disclosure of other human civilizations on other planets. Disclosure of non-human civilizations. Disclosure of free energy technology. Disclosure of Atlantis. Merging of timelines. Nothing can stop what is coming. Let there be truth. To be announced is a majestic operation of disclosure. Enjoy the show. The time to participate and act is now. A new future awaits soon. And that's that actually is consistent with what I've been hearing in the SSP disclosure community, folks. Are you there, Jen?
Yeah, I'm looking for that video. Hold on.
All right, no worries. Well, anyways, folks, don't forget to check out the our other podcast pages, Sacred Lavisa, News for Us, World, Heatherly Warriors, et cetera, you name it. We've got a bunch of different shows we do. We got 3 different shows we do during the week. Also, we have Dottie is going to be launching the box soon, so we'll have that one as well being added to the lineup. So we'll let her kind of segue and give you the background on that when she premieres her first episode. So I'm helping her with a bit on some of the editing. And don't forget to check out the Bonfire Store if you like the work that we're doing and you want to support the CPS family court corruption victims and help them fight this fight. You can do so by checking out our Bonfire Store and making a purchase of a T-shirt, a mug, whatever. All the funds from that go to our CPS family court corruption victims fund. I do not have access to those funds at all. That's managed by Angie. So and she's a victim of this corruption as well. So. You know that it'll be taken care of and it will go to the right people, folks. So I just want to put that out there and do what you can, show us your support. We appreciate any help you can get, whether it be sharing a show or sharing a page or making a purchase on the Bonfire Store. Anything you can do is much appreciated, folks. We're doing this for pro bono because we believe in this cause and we believe in what we're doing and we love what we're doing and we think somebody's got to do it. So we're going to continue to do it regardless, but it always does help. find it yet, Jen? Or are you still looking for it?
Yeah, I'm still looking for it. How about this?
How about you find it and then we'll
Yeah.
play it next week's episode? How about that?
Because you know what, you're not going to want to turn it off. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
just saying,
don't want to
it's
cut it
that
out halfway
good.
through too, you know?
Yeah, you're not going to want to shut it off. Let me go find that one meme though. I can find that real quick.
Okay.
Give me
So
a
are we about ready to wrap it up then, or you want to?
Yeah, let me find that real quick first, and then
What?
I'm going to find that meme about religion.
Oh, okay, got you. The meme. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. If you can find it quick enough, yeah.
I will just.
All right, I'll give you a minute. So yeah, folks, I just want to make an announcement. We surpassed 20K hits on our News for Us World website over the weekend. I just want to thank all of our viewers and our readers for that. We couldn't have done it without you, and we're growing every day. And I see this getting bigger and bigger as we keep putting more and more content out. And I'm really, really proud of the fact that we're growing so fast. And I think people are recognizing who's fighting the good fight and who's really talking the truth, because people are not stupid. People know how to think critically. We just been lied to for so long. We've kind of forgotten how, but now people are starting to wake up to that again. And then it's like, I mean, all of us in the alternative media have our platforms are just growing exponentially, like big time. And that's due to the fact that nobody believes the MSM anymore. They're coming to us because we're telling the truth and we're backing it up. And we're doing their jobs better than they are, and we're doing it for free. Some of us are. So it's like, well, what do you do in that situation? Well, obviously, I mean, that's a no-brainer, don't you think, Jen?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I don't know if I can find it. So I'll tell you what. I'll have it ready next time.
Okay, sounds good.
And then I'll have that video, because that just will open up everybody's senses on how the brain is working and how it's tied into the Bible, and what the everything is.
Sounds good. I look forward to that for sure.
Yeah, maybe like later or something.
Yeah, we'll touch base later and go over it.
Yeah. So. But
thank you everybody for jumping on. We appreciate it. Thank you, Jen.
Oh yeah, I loved it. This is my favorite kind of episode.
Me too.
Love this
Me
stuff.
too. Me too. I'm fascinated by it. I've always been fascinated by it.
And one thing, I'm so glad to hear that the numbers and how many people that we are reaching. It's not it's great, the numbers, but that's not
right.
Because I don't
know what it's about, but it's always encouraging to see your platform growing like that, because then you're on the right track. At least that's how I look at it.
Right.
I don't care about the numbers either. I'm gonna
right. No.
Like, we got most folks. We have maybe 1, 2, sometimes up to 6 live viewers any given show at a time. Right now we got 2, which is fine. I don't got a problem with that. I know we're because the majority of people watch after the live anyway.
Right.
I'm just grateful that we have active live viewers during the whole show when we broadcast, which we've had consistently now for at least the last 4 months.
I think that what it does is it's amazing to have people interact, because we want to interact, we want to connect, because I think it heightens my spiritual awareness to connect, because I'm like, wait a second, and you start putting this puzzle of the world together. Like, oh, well, you did this, oh, I did this, and we learn from each other, we grow from each other.
Right, that's what it's all about. It's it's about the journey, the learning experience.
Yeah,
the destination is the journey that gets there.
And you know what? Here's another thing: is like people. I'm not just one more thing, and then that'll be it. Okay, I feel destined to say is that life happens when we're busy making other plans, and I'm not saying people shouldn't prepare, but I think people have gotten to a state where they are so concentrated on dying, they're not living. Let's live.
Right. No,
let's
I
live
completely
and
agree
love.
with that sentiment.
I'm like, when you're so prepared and everything, and oh my God, it's the end of the world. You're planning your death. You're not even alive. You're not living. And you know, I get that things are going to happen, but you know, be careful
No,
what
it's
you think.
funny because I have a lyric. Okay, so I write music in my spare time and I'll play guitar and all that. Let me just give you guys a lyric from one of my songs that I wrote a while back. Just a simple lyric. I'm gonna be putting it
Yes,
out
please
like
sing
in
it.
the near future. It goes um if I stopped living, would I be living to die? And if I stopped caring, would the world just pass me by? Anyways, that was just a little sample, folks, but I wanted to put that out there.
Wow, Steve! Woo!
But yeah, I got some music I got working on. I've got enough
Whoa. My
songs written
boy's
for an
got some
album.
skills.
I just got to put together lyrics for the ones that don't have lyrics yet, which is like when it comes to the lyrics, I get writer's block a lot, so that
Yeah.
takes a little bit longer. But I've got some good stuff there, folks. So
Whoa, this boy's got some skill. That's my homie. That's the
I'm very
boring
humble. I
effect.
don't like to boast about. I like to let my work
No,
speak for itself. I
yeah,
just do it. I don't talk about it. I just do it. You know.
I know. I just try to bring out. I try to bring out the sunshine in you because you know you got to be reminded.
The
Like, I
sun will
see what you're
come
doing.
out tomorrow. I can't reach that high pitch. That one I'm not very good
But
at.
if we only have 3 suns, then
I'm not perfect,
tomorrow.
folks. Even I make mistakes. You
Thank
heard me. My
you.
voice crack.
Fuck you, Bill Gates. Tomorrow.
Or how about this one?
Okay.
You will own nothing and be happy. You will own nothing and be happy. Be happy. Be happy. Be happy. Be happy. But own nothing and be happy. Sorry, I had to do a little fucking mocks. Get of like a remix.
Oh God!
Just for shits and giggles.
Holy crap! Okay, I can't. I was trying to think of one, but you threw me off guard. Okay, damn it.
You're good.
No, anyway, I was cracking up. Okay.
Yeah, no,
well,
I was trying to be funny. I thought that was great.
that was hilarious. I love that. This dude is fun to work with, but anyway, yeah.
It was a great show, Jen. Thank you for jumping on. Let's wrap it up and play the outro, shall we?
And it wasn't a round table; it was a square table.
It wasn't even a square table. It was a half square table because at least a square you got 4 points with it was a line table is what it was because you had 2 points.
Right. But hey, I didn't finish my thought.
Go ahead.
It was like I had thoughts within that. Oh fudge. Oh, anyway, I think I lost it, but that's okay. It'll come back later. Write it down.
I'm sorry. I hate it when that happens.
No, because it's like I just got to talk. You know, I would just keep my mind at that thought, but I can't. So, anyway,
I have that happen all the time. I hate that. I know.
But you know, like one more other thing in addition. About the numbers, okay. But what it is, see, I have never known that. So when you tell me that, I'm like, wow, awesome. But you know, it means it's reaching out to enough people, and that's all that matters. Right. I don't, you know. And I have nothing to do with any of the store or anything like that. And the money that I just want to let people know, the money that we get is monitored. We do not use it for our personal expenses. I want you know, so whatever we get goes straight to people that we help.
Exactly. It's specifically just for the victims.
I mean, that is just something, and you know, I want to set up a separate one for the advocates because
I think that's a great idea. We should.
But anyway, I mean, if anybody can have it, you know, has any suggestions, you know, because I want to know what we should do as a collective, not just me, my thoughts.
Right.
So, you know, I like to interact with people. I learn from that. I love it.
Me
we've
too.
been disconnected so long. Let's unite and become the one collective conscious that we really are.
Right. You know, and it's like, you know, the whole premise of how we work as a team is we come to a common consensus on any real issue that affects us all, that we have that will affect us all, and we vote on it like we should.
Right.
But we all agree when we come to a vote on something or we decide something, we decide as a group, as a collective. It's not me deciding and then telling everybody we have to do that.
No.
I don't play that game. We're all part of the whole. We are a collective of individuals acting in unison via common consensus and open debate.
And you know, even though I don't agree with everything and everything, and that makes it interesting, you know what though? I still have learned so much about myself that I didn't know from what you guys have taught me. So hey,
Right.
you know what I
Life
mean?
itself is a learning experience, and that's what it's all about.
Exactly.
And that's how we gotta look
So
at these things. Just because you don't agree with every little thing doesn't matter. It
yeah,
doesn't matter because and nobody agrees with every little thing that one person says.
that would be
But what's
boring.
important is that you take what you can from it, what will empower you and help you learn and grow, and you use that to your benefit. And all the negative shit that doesn't resonate with you, just don't pay any attention to it. You can
Right.
acknowledge it, but don't give it any more energy than you would anything else. That
Good
you like.
advice.
Exactly.
But yes, you want to. Everybody will want to listen to this video. The divine brain. Wow.
We'll play it next week for next week's
Okay.
episode, and then we'll do a recap or like a back and forth on it afterwards. I think that'd be a great idea because I hadn't come up with a topic for next week's show, so let's do that. I think that'd be
all right. Yeah. I mean, a lot. Who knows? I mean, more stuff can come out, but I'm finding stuff every day. But we won't run out of material, at least.
Right.
But anyhow, everybody.
Great show and great insight from you, Jen. I really appreciate you jumping on.
Thank you. I tried.
Helping me with the round table.
It was a cross table.
Oh yeah, a line table.
It was flashing green lights. No.
Right. It's all right though. I
Anyway,
mean, we still
whatever
have a
you
little
want it
round
to
table.
be.
Even though it's a 2-person round table, it's still good to have these back and forth regardless. Even if we don't have that many people, I still like to push forward with this stuff. So thank you.
Right. Well, exactly. And I like the way that we, it's better to have more, but sometimes you know what you got.
Sometimes it's better with two.
Not always.
Sometimes we end up complimenting each other.
Yeah.
Work wise, like.
Yeah.
Like what with stuff I'm talking about perfectly segues into what you're talking about and back and forth, and we have a really good working collaboration with that. Just like we're in sync on that level.
You throw Dottie in here, and oh boy.
Oh well, I like Dottie's great too. Dottie's great.
I know. I'm just saying.
The three of us, and we're great. But like, I mean, sometimes too many people can be too much too.
Well, that's what I was meaning. Like, we're, and the more that we come together, and that's what this is an example of what they do not want with the rest of everybody. They don't want us all to come together. And this is why, because we start to get stronger and
we start to peel away the layers of their false reality, their illusionary reality matrix. And we start to see things for what they are, because we're all talking and we're all communicating. We're not divided.
Right.
So stuck on our egos and and our pride that we can't think straight or are not capable of rational conversation. Yep. We're not doing all that shit no more. That shit's going away. That shit's over with. We're done.
Yep. It is done, and just keep focused on the real.
Keep focused on what you want in your reality, folks. That's what's important.
Yep. So anyway, yep. I enjoy this. This is my favorite topic, and I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Sounds good, Jen. Let me there we go. Let me share my screen, and then we'll play the outro, folks. Don't forget to subscribe to our channels, follow our pages on Rumble, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and also now Telegram. And we have 3 shows a week. Wednesday's show is News for Us World's Fringe Division podcast, where we cover fringe topics such as UFOs, ETs, ghosts, spirituality, NDEs, higher consciousness, etc., etc. Then our Friday shows are Tips, Techniques, and Survival Traits, where we cover politics and medical fraud. And then Sunday's show is the CPS and family court corruption issue and human trafficking issue that we cover. So don't forget to check those out. We do those as well. And Dottie will be having the box, which will be premiering the box sometime this week. So look forward to that as well. Good night, everybody. we have a special guest for you today, Dennis Andrew Ball, with his new book titled Full Disclosure, Are We Alone?
This has been a subject of immense interest all over the world. These objects are metallic, they're solid, and they have incredible properties that defy physics. I am of an opinion that the people need to know. They need to know the truth.